Okay, Wrestle Rides with Mike Vader tribute episode. Obviously wasn't planning on this, and so the camera person is rolling. Thank you very much. Vader has passed away, and Vader, Big Van Vader, Leon White, the baby bull, former Los Angeles Ram. It's been said that he played in a Super Bowl, not in a winning Super Bowl effort, but Vader was said to have played in the Super Bowl. And we just have to basically tip our collective hat to baby bull Leon White, the man they call Vader. Personal stories. I've got some good ones. I've seen Vader wrestle live. Vader versus... Start with some house shows, obscure stuff. Vader versus Nikita Koloff, North Carolina, okay? We're talking late 92. Vader, former champion, going up against Nikita Koloff. And just a hell of a rough and tough match. And Vader using the power bombs. This was one of Nikita's last matches, as a matter of fact. And I remember after Vader won with the power bomb, it was a small crowd in North Carolina, and they were having trouble getting crowds those days, those non-flare days. Nikita Koloff went into the crowd and hugged the fans, because I think Nikita knew that his time as a wrestler was coming to an end. Then, now moving backwards in time, I'm freeforming, folks. I was there the night that Vader defended the World Championship in Baltimore at the 92 Great American Bash. And we all know the angle, or if you don't, look into it. Vader was supposed to wrestle Sting at this Great American Bash TV taping. It was a Jake the Snake Roberts incident. He attacked Sting. And Vader ended up defending the title against Ron Simmons. The All-American Ron Simmons, who defeated Vader with the power slam. I remember just about 20 seconds before the match ended, I said to my friend, Chris Bowles, I said, if he can power slam him, he deserves it. And some folks next to my friend Chris heard me say that, and they said, what did your friend say? And Chris told him, and then the next thing you knew, he power slammed him. Simmons slammed Vader and won. Now, that's a great accomplishment for Ron Simmons, but of course, as we know, every big match, every historic moment needs a foil, needs an antagonist. And Vader was legit. I mean, if Simmons had beaten somebody else, that winning that first championship world title singles for an African American would not mean anything. But because he beat Vader, I mean, if it was Vader or Flair or Rick Rude, then it meant something, okay? What else? The great match I should have seen was the rematch in December of 92, Vader versus Ron Simmons. I really could have gone to that, and I just didn't do it. And this kind of brings up another thing, folks. Look, we're all wrestling fans. Sometimes we have these opportunities to see really good wrestling matches, and we have an instinct to go, and then we don't want to pay the money for the tickets, or we don't want to be bothered, or people aren't as enthusiastic to go as we are, so we don't end up going. But that's my big gaping hole in my wrestling memory. There's a few of them, but that was one of them. I should have gone to that show. Vader, 1993. I've talked about it. Super Brawl 3 against Sting. The strap match. Just an awesome, epic, brutal battle. I'm not going to give it away. So if you're a fan, if you have the WWE Network, it's on there. You can find it through other means, but Super Brawl 3, do yourself a favor, watch that match tonight as a tribute to Vader. Super Brawl 3 versus Sting. The year of 1992, Vader owned, okay? He won the championship from Sting, WCW World Championship, I'm discussing, at Great American Bash 92. I think it was even a clean victory. Just dominated him. Sting, he dominated. And he had a reign of terror, and he lost the belt, to Simmons. He got it back, and then Super Brawl 3, he's the champion already, and he's fighting Sting, and they're going to Germany, I think they had title changes between Sting and Vader in Germany, a back and forth. And so Sting really, the Sting-Vader feud, man, that's what carried us, meaning WCW fans, through 1992 and 93, the early parts of 93 before Flair came back. And he did come back at that Super Brawl 3 show. But Flair couldn't wrestle for most of 93, or for the first half anyway. And so it was Vader and fucking Sting that carried that show, meaning the entire WCW show. So, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a fan of WCW, hardcore fan, you have it in your lineage, you have it in your blood. And I don't want to go off on a bunch of things, but basically Vader fucking held the fort down. And no offense to Yokozuna, because he was great in his own way, and there was a lot of talk at the time of who's the bigger big man, who's the better world champion, Yoko or Vader. And, my vote was with Vader, and I stand by that vote. No offense to Yoko. But that era was really a big man heel time for both companies. And I'm telling you, Vader did his fucking part. He did more than his part. His WWF run, to me, honestly, and other people have said this, and Vader's discussed it himself in shoot interviews, it just wasn't the same. The shoulder, he came in with a bad shoulder, and they try to work with that or work around it, but apparently, I think it was according to Vader that he felt pressure to get right in the mix, and there's stories that Cornette will tell about Shawn Michaels not wanting to put over Vader. Imagine that, Shawn. Okay. So Vader never got a world title WWF run. And I will allow a little bit of anger to spew from my system this morning that Vader was not put in the WWE Hall of Fame before he passed. And I think I don't know for sure, I don't remember 100%, but I think Vader had tweeted or something that he'd like to be put in the WWE Hall of Fame because he only had a few years to live. And guess what? They didn't. And guess what? People make excuses and you shouldn't bring that up, but I'm bringing it up, okay? They should have put him in the fucking Hall of Fame, god damn it. And I'll say it. So, that's the point. Another lost opportunity. Didn't put my buddy Oxbaker in, didn't put Ivan Koloff in, but they have more than enough time to put their favorites in. It's all a favorites game with Vince McMahon, okay? So let's get that out there. I'll say it. No one else has the fucking balls to say it. You should have put Vader in the Hall of Fame, Vince McMahon. You should have. And now he'll feel bad that he didn't, and they'll probably put him in 2019 posthumously, which, okay, fine, thank you. Should have put him in, Vince, all right? So Vader was part of that WCW lineage, that heritage. And yes, the belts were a little convoluted at the time because you had the NWA title coming back with Great Muta and Barry Windham and Chono, and it was kind of a clusterfuck between the two belts. But Vader did more than his fucking part. A world champion, a world-class athlete. I haven't even discussed his work in Japan, okay? And many people will tell you that Vader's work in Japan exceeded what he did in the United States. He was up there with Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. I mean, you could probably make a case that, Big Van Vader was probably, the third or fourth top American wrestler all time in Japan. It'd probably say something like Hansen 1, Brody 2, Vader 3. You could put Terry Gordy and Hogan probably in that mix for your top 5. I mean, I'd probably, and I'm not an expert on Japanese wrestling by any means, but if I had to make a fucking guess, all Meltzers aside, top American wrestlers to compete in Japan as far as box office at least, I'd probably say 1, Hansen, 2, Brody, 3, Vader, 4, Hogan, 5, Terry Gordy, and that's just my opinion, and I could be totally wrong. Let Meltzer deconstruct that with his 6 stars. But anyway, this was very important to me. I don't know if I've expressed fully the amount of respect I had for Big Van Vader in his career. I don't know if I have. All I can say is he was legit. When you watch this guy wrestle, you thought you were watching a real fight. I mean, for years, on August 2nd, I've done this for 5 or 6 years on Facebook. I'll post the Ron Simmons Vader title match from Baltimore, and I'll share it, and I'll say, yes, professional wrestling has its moments, but in certain matches are authentic fights. Check out this one. This World Championship fight was authentic, and I'll share the Vader-Simmons match, and people will not question it, because that's how snug these guys were. That's how physical they were. Jim Ross on commentary. Watch Simmons-Vader, August 2nd, 1992, Baltimore. Okay? So when fans want to wrestle, a lot of things piss me off. I had a whole big fucking debate last night about plastic dolls wrestling in Japan, and guys going toe-to-toe with me trying to defend that crap. Fine, defend it. Love it, okay? You never saw Big Van Vader wrestling a plastic doll in Japan. And he wrestled in Japan quite a bit. You never saw Big Van Vader wrestling a 7-year-old girl, okay? So yeah, the standards have lowered. The standards have fucking lowered, guys. And don't forget that. So you live with this wrestling now. This parody, this self-parody of professional wrestling. You live with it. You breathe with it. And yeah, you get a good match like Johnny Gargano and fucking Tommaso Ciampa doing Pro Wrestling Proud, doing Top Rope Promotions Wrestling Proud circa 2012. Yes, you get that. You get really good matches. And you might have the greatest roster of talent, up and down, SmackDown, Raw, and fucking NXT. You might have the greatest talent roster available, but we've got to keep these guys to a higher standards, everybody. And what would Vader do? What would fucking Vader do, all right? He wouldn't wrestle a doll. He wouldn't wrestle a fucking kid. He'd powerbomb that doll and kill that fucking kid. So Big Van Vader, he is a champion of all time. He is in Mike Messier's fucking Hall of Fame, Class 1, Ox Baker, Big Daddy V, and Big Van Vader. That's your class. That's your Hall of Fame. Mike Messier, first annual Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's it. I want to pay respect to Big Van Vader. His family, his son, God bless you through your time of grieving. But just remember, he's in a better place. And for all the atheists out there who don't believe in such a thing, well, fuck you too. So Big Van Vader, he is a champion. He deserves our respect. And Vince McMahon, you fucked up. You should have put him in the goddamn Hall of Fame, and you did it. So fuck you, Vince McMahon. And that's it. Big Van Vader. He deserves all our respect. It's always Vader time.